Hey there, fellow wanderers. Picture yourself on a canvas of endless dust and scorching sun, where the horizon shimmers in waves of heat and the air is thick with the scent of sweat and horse leather. You see, the Wild West isn't quite like the movies portray, with their dreamy sepia tones and noble cowboy heroes. No, this is a place where reality is grittier, gritty enough to rub your skin raw under the relentless sun. The landscape is harsh, the elements unkind, as you trudge on through days that seem longer than their hours. Shadows stretch like silent witnesses over barren lands, where tumbleweeds dance in a lonely waltz against the wind. This is not a fairy tale. It's an undressed truth of survival, stripped of the gloss and glamour. So before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. As you step into this world, the first sensation is the heat. It's not the gentle warmth of a spring sun, but a kind of oppressive force that sits heavily on your shoulders, a blanket of warmth that refuses to be shrugged off. Dust quickly becomes your unbecoming new layer, clinging to your skin in a permanent embrace. Smell that? It's a mix of dry soil, worn leather, and something metallic in the air. The scent of a land both promising and perilous. You squint against the brilliance, your eyes watering from the harsh light. Even up close, the landscape blurs into an unforgiving haze. A reminder that you're in a place where Mother Nature herself seems to rule with an iron fist. The day stretches ahead eternal, and the thought occurs to you, perhaps this is not a place for the faint of heart. Around you, the echoing silence is occasionally broken by the distant cry of a bird, a sound that drifts on the air like a forlorn reminder that life, though sparse, exists here. Rocks crunch beneath your boots, and you brush your hand against a scrubby bush, its brittleness captivating in its tenacity to hold on in such barren soil. Here, convenience doesn't exist. Everything is a struggle from the simplest necessity onward. Historians still argue whether the melodramatic tales portrayed in Wild West movies have a kernel of truth, or are merely inspirations fueled by folklore. What is irrefutable, however, is that the so-called Wild West was wild for a reason. Dare deviate from the well-worn paths, and you risk facing the untamed. But it's not only the natural world that conspires against you. It's a combination that includes hostile terrains and an unruly human environment, punctuated by some colourful, sometimes dangerous characters. In this chaotic chessboard, you're but a pawn, at the mercy of knights and rooks that wear stars or fire bullets. You begin to comprehend this place is one where the luxuries of modern life are absent. No running water or electricity, no quick trips to the supermarket to satiate hunger pangs. Resources are sparse, and every drop of water and every crumb of food is hard-won. For now, though, you're left to traverse the bare earth, where even the sky feels moments away from burning through to your skin. The world surrounding you is raw, a landscape worn by time, left unsoftened by the progression of modern niceties. And lurking underneath the immediate discomfort is the thrill of danger, the crackle of possibility in knowing you're living in a time and place raw with opportunity, but only if you can grasp it. As the noon sun climbs, so does the heat pulse, waves rising in the air. The weight of the travel pack tugs at your back, reminding you of life's impermanence. Every step forward echoes louder, a reminder of the journey that awaits. The Wild West isn't known for its mercy. It's a terrain that commands respect, a world of survival by tooth and nail. Just imagine, in this day and age, wandering through without a map or GPS, without a phone to call for help. A reality check that hits hard as the dust crunches beneath your feet. Yet, there is beauty in the chaos. Something timeless glimmers on the horizon, not just the shimmering mirage of heat, but an allure that calls you onward. There are tales to be spun, adventures possibly to be had, and even among the lurking bandits and wrathful wildlife, you dare to wonder. What stories could this wild land tell before surrendering to conquered calm? Alas, you and your companions on this journey are left with no option but to carry forth, tread softly past nature's formidable obstacle course, and feel the weight of each moment as gritty reality fills your consciousness and soaks in slowly. The Wild West, a beautiful beast of inherent contradictions, and in your exploration, the adventure truly begins. Thirsty yet? As you forge onward under the oppressive sun, the reality of hydration, or rather dehydration, starts to weigh on you heavily. Water is life, but in the Wild West, water is also scarce, taboo, and essential beyond measure. You're in a world where finding a source of potable water feels like discovering gold. Not the kind that you can deposit in a bank, but the liquid currency that fuels your very survival. Streams run muddy, wells run dry, and the unforgiving heat seems to burn the moisture right out of the air. You can almost taste the dryness as you swallow, hoping that the impossibly parched scrape of your throat might ease. It doesn't. But necessity is the mother of invention, and so you must get creative. Picture yourself by a slim trickle of a stream, pondering if the risk of pathogens is worth the promise of momentary relief. Legends tell of settlers desperately consuming whatever water they could find, even if it meant risking the wrath of diseases like cholera that travelled through these soil-heavy streams. Still, you grab your water canteen, and with a muttered hope and a plea to the powers that govern this rugged land, you fill it. Desperation has a way of making adventurers of us all. The sun blazes as you resume your cautious trudge forward, acutely aware of your dwindling water supply and the uncertainty of its next replenishment. You'd been advised the best spots to find water, beneath the shade of sparse cottonwoods, or at a slight dip in the ground where water might pool. But hopes are frequently dashed as you approach another promising patch and find only cracked, dry earth. There are alternatives to scrounge for water, some peculiar, some pragmatic. Maybe you spy those prickly green residents of the desert, the iconic cacti, standing defiant against both time and travellers. You've heard tales that they contain water, and true, their insides are moist, but drunken travellers might exaggerate their effect, romanticising the ease of extracting sustenance from these thorny giants. Cut open one of these robust plants, and it's more likely you'll find it sludgy and fibrous, a painful reminder that not every solution is what it seems. Even amidst scarcity, life can surprise you. It's hard not to marvel at how the West's indigenous peoples mastered the art of surviving in such a harsh landscape long before settlers struggled through. They taught survival through skills like knowing which plants provide water-rich nutrients. Some tribes even cultivated an understanding of how to squeeze precious water from sandy dunes. But now, as you wipe sweat from your brow and glance warily at the horizon, you must embrace each lesson you glean, each piece borrowed knowledge a lifeline amid the perils. Mainstream history might infrequently delineate the complexities of survival in this arid vastness, preferring tales of gunfights to more mundane, but no less vital, struggles with land and resources. Yet, with each sip from your canteen, you appreciate the quiet battles waged in seeking hydration. As your journey continues, poignant reminders of the West's demands remain. You pause, arms resting on your legs as you look out over the craggy landscape. The air shimmers as though the ground itself breathes, sighing heavily under the weight of heat. You listen for any sound of water over the lonely desert's whispered promises. If rain comes, it is only in a rush, sudden and fleeting, leaving thirsty earth gasping in its wake before dashing away once more. Historians still argue whether water scarcity was a driving force for many of the conflicts and scrambles for territory among settlers. Some claim it was gold, others simply the drive to spread westward. But for you in this desert, the immediacy of thirst insists otherwise. This is not a place that welcomes weakness. It's a constant contest of wills, a negotiation between you and the natural world over what it will grudgingly give up. In your exhausted thoughts, the arbitrary boundaries of towns and territories fade. Here, you wrestle with the land itself and come to terms with one universal truth. Survival demands respect. You forge ahead, the weight of your water canteen heavier with purpose, despite its diminishing contents. It's not the gold rush of dreams you chase now, but just that simple necessity, moisture in a land of sand and sun. Your eyes are drawn to the horizon's mirage, hoping it might transform into an oasis. The promise of water can drive anyone forward, even as stained boots succumb to grit and sweat. It's these simple yet starkly real battles that define your days. As you trudge through this tale of heat-induced delirium, remember an irony. The more tangible versus mythical perils can often seem all too easy to simplify or mythologize, especially when you're not the one braving the thirst. A perilous property is always a hopes and are self-assured in denials. You press on through the dust, your mind beginning to wander towards thoughts of sustenance. Out here, far removed from any modern conveniences, hunger becomes not just a distraction but a gnawing presence, much like an unwelcome passenger on your otherwise solitary journey. The land is vast, but the options are limited, and mealtime in the Wild West is an entirely different adventure, lacking the zest of modern dining. Picture yourself, weary in the afternoon sun, thinking of a hard-earned campfire meal. The idea of cooking feels almost luxurious, a small victory over the harshness. But soon enough, reality bites, literally. As you dig into a stash of jerky, its chewiness an all-too-familiar exercise for your jaw. As your teeth gnaw at the dried meat, you reflect on its necessity. Jerky is well preserved, lasting for months, but it lacks the warmth and comfort of a home-cooked meal. Though many associated with the West live by the tin can and powdered flour, you find these culinary staples lacking in taste and texture. And then there's hardtack, a disaster by any culinary standard in today's world. You cringe as you recall cracking a piece off, the hard biscuit crumbling with a reassuring crackle into an edible, stodgy paste rich in starches. There's a resilient comfort in knowing you've eaten, but you'd be wise to remember to dip it into your precious canteen water, softening it slightly, lest a broken tooth becomes your next pressing difficulty. The scarcity and simplicity of these meals might trigger a longing for variety, but often they merely spark gratitude for sustenance itself. You take a moment to ponder how frontier life more or less weaponizes simplicity. Unlike gourmet meals with their layers of lush flavors, these meager bites fill the basic need, though the sophisticated art of savoring is but a distant dream. Sparse vegetation awkwardly attempts to infiltrate your surroundings, edible desert plants that have sustained life in this unforgiving landscape for millennia. If you're lucky, or resourceful enough, you might find wild saguaro seeds or mesquite pods, testaments to indigenous culinary expertise. Their preparation, however, remains a mystery until you too learn the secrets of this salty wilderness buffet. What about the starry gaze towards ever-elusive fresh meat? Yes, in the far-off future of bounty hunters and movie cowboys, hunters dream big game: deer, elk, and bird. Truth be told, such hunts require skill, time, and that rarest commodity, luck. If caught, such game requires preparation under skies unfazed by modern convenience, on knives and makeshift grills that are notable more for their efficiency than their elegance. Cooking on an open flame demands understanding the dance of heat and patience, the thick smoke of a practical, functional fire blending like perfume with the crackle of mesquite or whatever suitable wood is at hand. Time is different when you spend it waiting for simple sustenance. An existential timeout to the fast living the modern world once promised. Historians still argue whether the stomach was the true playwright of so many historical decisions, more akin to shaping destinies than nations themselves. But here and now, in this self-imposed experiment of immersion, you find evidence for conclusions that may lie in neither parchment nor sage's words. No forks, no finery, no bustling marketplace whence fare is fetched. Out here, hunger is a singular next destination. Your reflection includes the saloons and taverns, once clutching civilization tight to their bosom, where desperados swap tales, both of mischief and survival, over beans and taters, as the scent of stale whiskey hung on the air like a heavy shroud. The likes of you would eye such gatherings warily, seating yourself with an unspoken nod as whiskey and conversations flowed freely, both muted trials and past tales summarily adding seasoning. Your boots scuff across the ground as you journey longer, a reminder, duly delivered, that in the Wild West meals are not stolen moments of joy set amidst misery, but part of the sameness themselves. A survival narrative uniquely flavoured by the grit absorbed each morning and night. The sensation of fullness may too be fleeting, yet on a distant horizon, when the dust does settle at last, you might just dream of rich lamb stew, of ovens in far-off towns filled with treats, baritones of bannock or biscuit, And so, as you continue, the rhythm of boots and chewings against the natural symphony, you pack your Maverick's pouch once more with readiness. Another day, exchanged for salted bread and promises of yet another tomorrow, only half aware of the final blessed sips that await your throat, parched and in need. In these small ways, your survival, simple as it is no less deserving of reverence. You learn the art of singular connection to nourishment, wiping crumbs of hardtack from your hands, sipping remaining droplets. Muse on today's sustenance as a pilgrimage uniquely and completely your own. As you journey deeper into this rugged terrain, the call of the wild echoes more insistently around you, reminding you that you're neither alone nor at the top of the food chain. The wilderness is alive with hidden dangers, like a rattlesnake coiled under the brush, or a coyote shadowing you on the horizon. Out here, every sound seems magnified. The sharp rustle of leaves, a distant howl carried on the wind, and the prickly awareness that you share this land with creatures adapted to survive long before human footprints marked it. Your first encounter with a rattlesnake is more a revelation than a confrontation. It's not the sort of experience you prepare for with textbooks or tales around the campfire. You hear the rattle before you see the snake, its distinct warning vibrating through the air, sending shivers up your spine. You pause, senses sharpened, eyes scanning the landscape until you catch sight of it, the snake's body sinuously looping through the grass. You step cautiously backward, heart pounding, acknowledging a creature whose home you are merely passing through. Their bite can be fatal, a sobering reality that strikes fear into the heart of even the most seasoned drifters. Not far from your path stands the coyote, watching with eyes reflective of the cunning that folklore often attributes to them. It's an intelligent gaze, assessing, evaluating perhaps. They are opportunists, scavengers of a harsh world who survive on what they can find. Farmers despise them for threatening livestock, but here, on your uncertain path, they represent a resilience you can't help but admire as you exchange silent recognition. Onward the vastness stretches, the light dimming as the sky changes, and with it comes another visitor. A mountain lion, or cougar as it's commonly known. Rarely seen, these apex predators hover at the edge of myth and reality. Their stealth is remarkable. You may never see one, though they see you. As you trek through their territory, remember that acknowledging their presence is part of the pact you've silently entered by stumbling upon their kingdom. The harshness of this ecosystem pits everything against each other, making survival an art of weaving together wisdom and respect for all living forms. While modern stories glamorize the rugged cowboy spirit overcoming wild challenges, it's these creatures who are true masters of such trade. Your role is to partake in the dance, aware that each creature plays its part in a story as old as the dust beneath your boot. Historians still argue whether the settlers' attitude towards wildlife leaned more toward fear or admiration. This debate reflects in accounts ranging from vicious battles to quiet coexistence. However you view these encounters, they're reminders that the land itself is alive, and its heartbeat often contrasts sharply with human intrepidity. During the occasional dark and lonely nights under endless stars, the howls of wolves sing their haunting chorus, the kind of symphony that sends shivers of pure instinct rippling through you. Their cries are mournful reminders of a world lit by primal rules, a twilight realm where you are merely a visitor. Each howl slices through the air like a needle piercing fabric, threatening to unravel the thin sense of control you cling to in the darkness. That's the Wild West for you, a drama not just between men but a dialogue with nature itself, richly layered and deeply nuanced. Sure, it's a place where knowledge is power, where a little know-how can fend off disaster, but out here there are no fences or borders separating you from the raw, relentless face of nature. Instead, insight comes from acknowledging the bountiful array of threats and beauty, carefully navigating each encounter. The sun begins its descent, casting long shadows over the landscape, and you craft your fire carefully as a small, flickering shield against the encroaching night. Embers flicker upward, defying the cool night air, and everything slows. For now, you are safe, the immediate space around your campfire a temporary sanctuary. In this surreal symphony of light and dark, life and land, the wilderness whispers its inscrutable secrets into the ears of those willing to tread softly and listen keenly. It reminds you that while civilization may march forward, The spirit of the Wild West eternally guards its mysteries, steadfastly reluctant to reveal them all. Your footsteps forward are tentative, guided not only by the search for sustenance and water, but by a deeper, mutual respect for the kingdom of creatures you've come to share this endless journey with. As you make your way through the unyielding Wild West, you begin to understand that the clothes on your back are more than just a statement of style. They're your first line of defense. Out here, apparel is not about aesthetics, but adaptation. Imagine stepping out into a world where your trusty boots aren't a fashion accessory but vital armor against the relentless assault of rocky terrain and the cruel, rugged underbrush. Your feet sink into the sturdy leather of these boots with every step, a testament to the countless miles they've covered. The thick soles absorb much of the land's rugged contours, sparing you some of the sharper indignities beneath. Yet every night, when you bend down to untie the laces, you find your feet telling the tale of a long day's journey, red and aching from the endurance test they've endured. On top, the iconic Stetson hat rests, shading your eyes from the sun's glaring assault, its wide brim offering a whisper of relief. It isn't just about keeping the sun at bay, it's your portable shade, your shield against the blistering rays that dominate your waking hours. You soon appreciate its dual purpose. Equally proficient at dispelling rain as it is at fending off unwelcome advances of sand carried by a rogue gust of wind. With every gust, fine particles of dust cling stubbornly to your duster coat, a protective layer against the elements. It billows behind you like a cape, catching the wind as you step forward. This garment isn't spun from the luxurious silks of stories. It's a practical heavyweight shield that keeps both you and your other clothing from being mercilessly abraded by the constant tornadoes of grit and earth. Yes, even this sprawling dry landscape can surprise you with its sudden shifts. One minute it's sunburn weather, the next a chilling breeze howling through the hills. That's where the humble bandana comes into play, a dagger of cloth tucked around your neck, an understated hero in the story of your survival. It's a chameleon in resourcefulness, a barrier against dust when the winds whip suddenly and fiercely, a mop for the perspiration that flows freely in the unforgiving sun, and, at times, a makeshift napkin or tool for binding wounds. The patina of your clothing tells its own tale, a tapestry of travel marked by tears and muddied patches. These clothes, far from the soft and pristine garments hanging in city wardrobes, are an unspoken promise that adventure and mischief are not far away. Each scratch, each smear, binds you closely to the nomadic cloth you carry. Yet leather and cloth can only do so much when it comes to slipping seamlessly into the western tableau. There's a chasm the width of the Rio Grande between the romanticized bandits and outlaws cinematically dashing across the desert backdrop on the screen, and those of you hitching to meet every first danger. The unassuming, annihilating monotony that teeters you ever closer to exhaustion. But there's strength in these clothes, in these stitches and weaves, woven recently yet seemingly formed ages ago. Historians still argue whether these garments were the catalyst behind the enduring images of Western grit, or an offset to the legendary stories of invulnerability. What cannot be debated is their indispensable nature. Tools, not just for your body, but for survival. And so, onward you march, wiped brow and dust-caked into clothing heralding your steadfast journey. Wanderers without the wisdom of adaptation always struggle to find their footing here, too often just whispers in the dust-torn winds. Yet ensconced in this weather-beaten armour, your next step awaits, not as a worn traveller but a survivor garbed accordingly. In these worn seams, shields, bandanas and hats, you carry relics of Western pluralities, fashioned often from necessity rather than desire. Each piece equips you for the unexpected, crafting barriers between you and an otherwise inhospitably silent companion. Your attire signals that despite adversity, the ever-resilient wanderer can change the story with each tread, proving again and again that even amidst the lands left uncurled by time, the will to endure is sewn into the very fabric you wear. As the sun dips below the rugged horizon, a chill creeps across the land, enveloping you in an unexpected embrace of cold. In this instant, you realize that shelter is no mere convenience, but a vital fortress against the shifting temperament of the Wild West. This is a place where nights can be as harsh as days, and constructing a refuge means reading the language of the landscape itself. The choice of where to establish shelter is as critical as the shelter itself. Open spaces, inviting though they may seem, are potential traps for prying eyes, both animal and human. You seek the lee of a hillside or the stunted protection of sparse trees. The terrain itself provides your blueprint. Watch for signs of prior travellers and take the subtle advice left by the land. Your respite must be temporary, yet built to withstand the capricious temperament of Mother Nature herself. With the sparken of kindling, your fire crackles to life, pushing back the embryonic night's grasp. The light flickers against the brushwood, vying with the expansive darkness. In this primordial theatre, you feel the old echoes of ancestral wisdom buzzing through your fingers as you craft a makeshift lean-to, a simplistic array that offers its own breed of comfort. Cottonwood branches lashed together to create a rudimentary frame, a tarp, or animal hide, if fortune granted you its luxury, drapes overhead, a symbolic dome between you and the vast, uncaring sky. Here is a refuge, forged with intent, making you consider the spectrum of settlers before you, their homesteads wrestling permanence from wilderness. As the fire grows and glows, you see shadows twist into the forms of those who dared to remain still when everything else shifted around them. Historically speaking, the claim to land meant staking territory against adversity, often leading to deeper, more stable abodes than your ephemeral arrangement. The modest sod houses of settlers stand as monuments to resilience, earth clumped around timber frames, insulating walls thick enough to withstand the onslaught of weather. A far cry from city life's pampering, but marvels of innovation in their time, and unfaltering guardians of warmth through cruel winters. You, however, make do with simpler means, as this is not a story of settlement, but of passage. As your fire crackles, its soothing resonance becomes a lullaby, singing you into comfort. The tempting warmth seeks to chase away memories of blistering days and nights of shivering watchfulness. The firelight dances, scoring the night with a different tune. Sometimes you'll feel as much companionable loneliness as safety here. But even that holds a certain spell. Yet creatures of the night remind you there's always cause for watchfulness. The occasional distant snap of a twig brings you to full alertness, ears straining against the symphony of crackling flames. This land does not sleep, and neither, it seems, shall you. Yet each whispered breath of wind serves as a lullaby in this trickster's night, part predator, part muse. Historians still argue over whether the promise of land was the greatest offer ever made to settlers, or merely a Faustian bargain, trading security for sovereignty. Each night, beneath a starlit canopy, you feel echoes of this contract resonate through your bones, a reminder of stakes both physical and existential. However ephemeral, your shelter nonetheless becomes the center of your existence for the night, a place to rest your weary muscles, ward off some threats, and dream, perhaps, of something softer. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new dangers, but also, possibly, new discoveries. As the stars slowly crawl across the sky, and your fire dwindles to warm embers, the world round you seems to breathe deeply, urging you towards rest. Wrapped in the familiarity of the transient, you pull closer to the fire's warmth, feeling the land's rhythms subtly lulling you to sleep. Tomorrow you'll rise with the dawn, and take from your shelter a small token of the safety it offered. For now, sleep, wanderer, and keep the embers of hope aflame. Midday approaches with an unyielding sun casting long shadows across a familiar sight, an outpost of civilization amid the harsh wilderness. The wooden facades of a dusty town stretch out before you, a mosaic of saloons, storefronts, and the occasional beckoning sign promising respite. But beware, not all is as it seems in these settlements. As you walk the creaky planks of the boardwalk, you quickly learn that underneath the hum of daily life runs the perpetual undercurrent of danger. Welcome to the untamed world of outlaws, where the line between lawful citizen and renegade is as thin as the tendrils of dust kicked up by the wind. With the townspeople bustling about, you watch, your eyes drawn to their stark urgency. Impossibly wide-brimmed hats and weathered dusters paint a stark picture of a society deeply aware of its frontier existence. The air is charged with stories, swirling like invisible eddies in the wake of every passerby. It's a place where reputations are made and shattered at the drop of a hat, or perhaps the draw of a gun. You cast a cautious eye over the clientele within the saloon, a hive of rest and respite among the grit and danger. This is a locale where the veneer of civilization cuts thinly, and beneath the clinking of glasses lies a tension as palpable as the swing of the saloon doors. Conversations ripple through the air like the twists of a snake, each word potentially holding promises or threats. And for those with the misfortune to look away, well, it's often said that eyes on the door may save your hide. The barkeep eyes you, wary but hospitable, as you approach the bar. Those same counters are characters in their own right. They hold stories in the worn-in grooves of their oaken surfaces, narratives of travellers come and gone, some stories carved right into the wood, only discernible by a knowing eye. Sliding a tarnished coin across the counter, you receive a drink in a mug whose surface tells its own tale of landmakers. Each sip is a bracing taste of this hardened land, a mix of spirits and caution. Look around and you'll see poker games spiralling into tales of heated rivalries or unexpected camaraderies. Whispers float above the green felt tables, where winnings and losses alike can transform a friend's face into a formidable foe. In this world, you are judged by your grit and your nerve, and each play of the hand can be a gamble of life as much as livelihood. Historians still argue whether the notoriety of western towns like Tombstone and Dodge City was a product of genuine turmoil or romanticized exaggeration. Nevertheless, folklore or fact, being here in this moment leaves the argument moot, for you feel the pulse of tension running beneath your fingertips as you hold your glass. One thing that rings true is that even in this hushed chaos there lurks an elegance particular to the art of this rapid-fire diplomacy. Gunfights can erupt unpredictably, a discordant burst of adrenaline where measured stances clash with clattering movements. For the uninitiated, they are pure spectacle, yet their consequences ripple beyond simple entertainment, creating legends or cautionary tales overnight. Each of these disagreements resounds with the sharp reminder that life here can be as fleeting and fast as the draw of a Colt 45 whispers turned to legend, laughter turned to legacy. Yet not everyone in this place brandishes bravado. There are those whose survival demands discretion, gamblers who bluff not just at cards but at words. Others escape the limelight, slipping in and out of the shadows with a deftness only years on this unforgiving edge can teach. They, too, lend their unique colour to this unpredictable tapestry. As the evening stretches, shadows still longer, you notice people clustering in curiosity or dispersing with tense haste, watching for the moment when shadows slip through nonchalant calm. Among these alliances and rivalries, the nature of the law grows more diffuse, blending threshold into threshold with disarming ease. A precarious balance where justice is often dealt swiftly, if not fairly. You take a deep breath, feeling the thick blend of smoke and spirits dance upon the air. In places like this, where the badge only hangs from some, protection often comes in the form of friends and firepower. The latter is probably easier to come by. You toast silently to the day's survival, inwardly thankful for another day won against this cauldron of unpredictability. Leaving behind the heavy doors of the saloon, you step out into the cooling night air, the heaviness of its silence weighing upon you like a welcome indemnity from the chaos within. The street is dimly lit, shadows stretching menacingly as allies or inseparable foes of the living. Here on the dusty streets, you learn another essential truth. In the Wild West, life isn't simply a game, it's a gamble, with the deck perpetually shuffled, concealing aces up ghostly sleeves. Yet for now, the world is displaced in moonlight, and the glaring eyes of the daytime adventure seem somehow kinder, silhouetted by the pallor of night. As night falls over the bustling little town, it seems to fold in on itself, maintaining a cautious hope that peace will endure through the darkness. Justice here is a fluid concept, as mercurial as the shadows themselves, dictated by the harsh logic of frontier life. As you wander these dusty streets, you come to realize that the law, such as it exists, is not solely embodied in the iron stars that adorn leather vests, but in the very hearts of its people, lasting as long as they are willing to uphold its tenets in a place largely untamed. Imagine the wide brim of a lawman's hat silhouetted against the fading light, a figure more archetypal than individual moving with purpose down the boardwalk. To some, they're heroes, to others, just another potential adversary. In a land where liberty has its own distinct flavour, and where law books lay pale in comparison to the instinctual justice delivered over the saloon bar. High noon might not always bring shootouts, but it brings the expectation or promise of them. The exchange of words is the preliminary spar, a preamble to the sudden crescendo of clashing wills. In this context, a judge is a rare and revered presence. He drifts through these lands much like a nomad, rarely settling, dispensing rulings in makeshift courtrooms that sway almost whimsically between saloon and barn. It's a theatrical atmosphere, where the line between friend and convict is blurred by the scent of whiskey and the slow spin of ceiling fans. Hear the words, "guilty as charged," echoing against bare wooden boards, a phrase as final as any gavel. Yet truthfully, justice is often served with a persuasive grit, captured between the lawyer's rhetoric and the ingrained sense of wild ethics modelled after frontier law. It's a curious blend of intimidation and persuasion, the latter gently whispered under the cover of a starry night. Negotiations often become more visceral, with traded favours bearing more weight than carved words in wood or leather. Historians still argue whether the conception of justice in the Wild West held the strength to transition towns into cities or simply swapped one rule of disorder for another. This melting pot of ideals and ideologies fosters an organically anarchical environment, a crucible for countless narratives of both heroism and villainy. The sheriff's star glints under the sparse overhead lamp, a symbol of the authority that reigns amid the chaos. It represents not just his badge of office, but an invitation, a challenge to the order. Or disorder, he maintains. This is a place of barter and reprisal, more often than enforcement and redress. A focal point for encounters that molt into tales of quick-stringer justice sworn under thin crescent moons. This shifting notion of justice finds its truest expression in the informal gatherings around porch steps and campfire rings. Here, disputes are argued and resolved in much the same murmured tones as the art of storytelling, where the speakers still know how to gleefully spin a yarn while keeping eye and ear ready for signals of intent. Over flame-licked crusts of hardtack, they share advice and testimonies, as likely to trade life stories as savvy legal counsel, according to that night's needs. As the fire crackles, a quiet tension fills the cool night air, lingering in the spaces between words, a reminder that life here is far from predictable. You watch shadows dance in the firelight and find yourself consoled by their constancy. Unlike people, they need no justification for their existence. They merely are. There's a lesson to be learned from their silent watch, whispering their own truths along with the rustling of the late-night breeze through the tangle of grass. By dawn, this conversation will crumble into the dust underfoot, perhaps lost to the shifting whims of time. Yet tonight, it simmers alive with intention, topsy-turvy, like the very essence of democracy itself. In previous generations, frontier justice carried a harrowing neatness, as local folklore has melded with recollection to glorify deeds and declare villains. These stories follow campfires ever onwards, a collective exhalation of truth and creativity etched by tongue into backbone tales. Yet in the moment itself, caught alive, you're reminded that beneath every legend, the rawness of survival endures, capturing the ephemeral and precarious nature of right and wrong through the smouldering embers of the past and the yet unwavering gaze over tomorrow's hills. You tuck the tales away, securely pocketed with the rest of your adventures, ready to face another day's blend of danger and discovery, anchored only by dusk's shadow, the enduring arbiters of a capricious and unyielding land. As the mornings break, casting their gentle light across this unforgiving landscape, you come to realize a deeply unsettling truth. The slim margins that exist between life and death here are often written in the ink of medicine, or the lack thereof. In the Wild West, falling ill or suffering an injury isn't merely an inconvenience. It's a potentially deadly risk that looms ominous as the broad sky. The rudimentary state of medicine in this era serves as a stark reminder that the frontier is as much a crucible of human endurance as it is a test of mettle. Step into the shoes of a pioneer, where ailments once considered minor become formidable foes, and where the threat of infection, now a familiar and manageable adversary, is a shadow that stalks your every move. There's a simple reason for this. The resources that support modern healthcare just don't exist here in the way you might hope. Practitioners are scarce, And those who do claim the title of doctor often carry credentials as dubious as the elixirs they sell. You see, out here, a little snake oil can go a long way, depending on whom you ask. The line of peddlers and travelling salesmen hawking miraculous cures is long, their offers as enticing as they are suspect. Perfumed with desperation and hope, eager settlers might find themselves purchasing cure-alls made from a dubious mix of alcohol, opiates, and the imagination of a carnival barker. Does the drink soothe aches? Quite possibly. But long-term health isn't buried within the bottle's deceptive promises. Instead, it lies quietly within the familiar care of whispered knowledge and age-old remedies. The tales of Western medicine reveal stories spun with a mix of scientific ingenuity and primitive applications. Here, leeches might still come out to play, their usage touted alongside more proven methodologies. Herbal concoctions crafted from sagebrush and other native plants may offer palliative aid, showcasing indigenous wisdom that seems beyond appreciation during this period of eminent discovery. Historians still argue about the accuracy and artfulness of these frontier treatments, whether they coincided beautifully with nuanced knowledge or were a grandiose example of charlatanry at its finest. Yet in this world, past the judgments of history, these treatments represent survival, raw, imperfect, and irreplaceable. Step into what passes for a doctor's office, a place that smells of tobacco and antiseptic, where surgical implements glint ominously in the dusty light. A canvas shelf lies stocked with linen bandages, frayed and faded. Only the courageous or truly desperate entrust themselves entirely to this realm of patched-up remedies and hasty instructions. The realities of emergency surgery by lamplight, or even simple ministrations such as setting a broken bone, present life and death moments. Your hands may be needed as much as your cooperation. The bundle of urgency wrapped tightly within your doctor's satchel breathes of pills, tinctures, and soothing incantations that touch the edges of ritual. A prayer, a pause, and a bandage become a multiform tactic, blended carefully with faith, technique, and wry humour. These small comforts are a salve against both tangible wounds and the unforgiving burden of staying alive in such a hazardous place. Through imaginative storytelling and necessity, the line between medicine and magic often blurs here. It's the fierce will to survive that often tips the scales. Each cough can send waves of fear or cautious reprieve. Living life acutely aware of its fragility creates a world where every breath is both a promise and a triumph. Conversations concerning diseases like tuberculosis, once a shrouded whisper, now drift into mainstream exchanges, highlighting a world still grappling with its known unknowns. In such a testing ground, it's not unusual to hear of a case of consumption taking down the heartiest of souls. Those who stand unscathed today maintain a resolve that tomorrow might concede. Whether it's the persistent burn of a prairie fever or the crippling newness of frontier-fisted conditions like Western flux, perhaps less charming than it sounds, one's ability to adapt to and contend with the West's medical landscape becomes not just a luck, it's a skill developed through experience and attentiveness, spurred on by a backdrop of relentless challenges. As you drift into the rhythmic patterns of life here, health's precarious dance remains ever balanced between prudence and fortuity, intrepid and introspective, a quiet force shaping the brave narratives woven into this expansive tapestry. While you journey, heed well the wisdom shared over campfires and shamed fence posts, for they often contain more than the sum of their medicinal parts. Within their whispers lies the heart of Western medicine, resilient if not miraculous, grounded and yet striving, walking the line between life and legend under an endless sky. The trail leads you to the banks of a river, its surface shimmering in the slanted morning light, a deceptive silver snake winding its way through the barren expanse of the west. The promise of water has drawn you here, yet as you stare at the swirling currents, you sense the hidden peril beneath its placid facade. Navigating these waterways, you quickly learn, is fraught with more danger than one might first believe. This isn't just a barrier to cross, it's a treacherous opponent in this game of survival. The rivers here aren't just picturesque ribbons cutting through the landscape. They are living entities that transform with a whim. A gentle stream can swell into a roaring, untamable force with minimal warning, flushed with torrents of rain from distant storms. Crossing is an exercise in patience, timing, and, often, sheer audacity. Impassive waters teem with unseen treachery that could toss even the sturdiest raft like a child's fragile toy. Your first challenge is crafting or finding a suitable vessel. The luxury of a proper ferry is often non-existent, so you improvise. Makeshift rafts are frequently the norm, a frail lattice of logs lashed together with rawhide, or more daringly, nothing more than your trusty horse. You might admire those pioneers who bluster their way onto these crafts, steering a course through collision and capsized horrors, all for the sake of onward travel. As the water laps against your shins, you remember the navigational skills you were told to trust when younger. Determining the safest point of crossing is half intuition, half luck, scouring the shallowest section amidst deceptive depths. The riverbed is uneven, slick with algae that can throw off any sure footing faster than a struck match ignites. Once afloat, steering through the current becomes a test of nerves and skill. Historical accounts recall whole herds of cattle lost to the hungry embrace of swollen rivers, or the less resolute among travellers turned back by their ominous power. There are times when your sole companion on this wet passage is a stout stick, or, if fortune smiles, a hardened oar. A meagre defence against the unyielding force that tugs insistently at the edges of your raft, like the grasping fingers of some unseen creature. Historians still argue about the misships of river crossings and their impact on the broader story of westward expansion, whether they defined the trails of destiny or fate's unrelenting challenges on the pioneers' lives. But to you, lifted from the textbooks into this vibrant terrain, the river's mischief is a palpable guide, commandeering your attention and demanding both humility and respect. It's an enterprise that extends far beyond simply making it to the opposite shore. It's about finding your place in the river's capricious poetry. There's an art in listening to the water, reading its subtle movements like the intonations of a secret language. Each ripple holds knowledge passed down through age-old lines, indispensable wisdom for the wary. Logs and debris loom as obstacles that only reinforce the idea that this waterway holds more than aquatic life. Snapped branches and stubborn stones lie in ambush, ready to snag hapless travellers. As you manoeuvre deftly past them, the shore finally beckons. A welcome sight, echoing stability and solid ground. Here, the West's waterways hold their myths beneath each churn, tales carved into the recesses of memory that resonate from long-forgotten wanderers to those who still venture today. Whether whispering quiet surrender or roaring their conquests, the rivers write you into history, enfolded by both challenge and camaraderie. As you finally touch earth once more, the overwhelming sense of achievement floods through you like the river's own current. Alive, a rush of relief that breathes pure celebration. You step away from the tumultuous riverbank, leaving ripples of your passing vibrantly lingering long after you've moved on. Each crossing becomes another mark etched in the ledger of survival out here where the Wild West's heart beats strongest, thrumming with beauty, terror, and the invincible flow of time's uncharted journey. As the river recedes behind you and the land stretches out in an endless expanse, a profound sense of isolation begins to settle over you. It's the kind of silence that wraps itself around you, tangible and heavy, as if the earth holds its breath. The expansive prairie unfurls in its sparse beauty, and you are but a lone figure moving across an immense canvas of muted colours and whispers. This is loneliness of a different magnitude, one that can envelop even the most steadfast soul. There's nothing but the distant keening of the wind, a sound that seems to underscore your solitude rather than interrupt it. Each echo you send into the vast open finds little echo back, swallowed by the sheer distance, the horizon feeling impossibly far away. Here, every step forward becomes a meditation, each crunch of dry grass underfoot a reminder of your singularity against the great sweep of the land. As oppressive as the isolation might seem, it's not without its peculiar charm. This is a solitude that strips away pretensions, leaving behind only the bare essence of journey and self. It's a space where thoughts can run as freely as the meandering wildlife that too calls this place home. A reminder you're never entirely alone, even when the land seems to erase all evidence of company. Historians still argue whether the psychological weight of such solitude forged one's spirit or chipped at its edges over time. Experience, though, makes the reality of solitude's duality clear. It both liberates and confines, offering the chance for reflection incomparable to that found in the midst of crowds. Beneath the dome of endless sky, days stretch ever longer, and with them, your inner monologue becomes both companion and adversary. The mysteries of this land, whispered by the wind's sigh, are yours alone to interpret. Imagination leaps unbridled, conjuring phantom shapes in the wisps of dust and cloud, twisting reality until the land itself seems to breathe unique nursery rhymes, half myth, half memory. Such musings find their counterpoint in the stark resilience of nature itself, represented by lumbering bison or skittish jackrabbits. Each creature finds its rhythm here, mastering the ballet of survival without need for society's nuanced dance. As the sun dips low and shadows yawn, bison wander past, their shaggy silhouettes capturing the dusky sky, walking testaments to an existence that requires little more than the land beneath their hooves. The prairie might seem barren, but here art lies in survival, the bare essentials so immediate they're a chorus underfoot. You might learn from the erratic scamble of a lizard darting beneath brush, or the hawk observing all from dizzying heights. There's wisdom to be gleaned far beyond that of mere survival, an education in self-sufficiency and adaptation deeply rooted in the rhythms of the earth. With time, you draw solace from the living pulse thrumming beneath the ground, even as it challenges the boundaries of your spirit. The prairies unfold like pages of a book, one where each chapter simmers with both quiet revelation and the kind of wonder that adjusts your perspective forever. Here, you find the duality of the West's vast emptiness, the outdoor cathedral that at once heralds desolation and celebration. While the silence weighs heavily upon your shoulders, it also lifts you. A paradox not easily settled by any calculation of senses. You pause, suddenly aware that the vastness, though grand, holds each footpath deeply etched into memory, a testament to those who dared to traverse its breadth long before you. Every faltering step on this lonesome trail becomes an imprint on the ever-blank pages of Western lore, a singular affirmation of existence. Night finally descends, and with it another sense of the extraordinary inhabits the plains. Above, stars blaze in astonishing clarity, lighting a pathway in the vast, unperturbed sky. Lying beneath this infinite twinkle, you feel a kinship with the earth and sky, boundlessly connected to the arch of eternity. Loneliness, in this context, manages to impart both vast distance and subtle embrace. The night wears on, singing its gentle lullaby of crickets and rustling grasses. You find yourself caught in this delicate web of solitude, tempered not with resignation but with perspective. For amid the silence, there's an understanding that the journey's greatest gift is not the destination but the reflection cast upon a seeker's soul. One step at a time. As dawn breaks and the prairie slowly recedes from view, the promises of the frontier lure you onward like the whispers of a siren, their melodies woven with dreams of fortune and folly. The pursuit of gold captures your imagination, turning each step into a rhythmic promise that the next bend in the road will reveal riches beyond belief. This drive, an almost feverish quest for prosperity, has pulled countless souls westward, leaving behind the echo of picks against stone and the ghosts of fevered ambition. The stories abound, fed by the fires of myth and history alike, whispering of nuggets waiting to be uncovered, lying heavy with promise beneath the earth's surface. The very air feels charged with the latent energy of possibility. But as you journey deeper into this age-old hunt, you discover that the romance of the gold rush often veils a harsh reality. Sifting through riverbeds yields little more than silt. The elusive promise of wealth is rarely found strewn carelessly along well-trodden paths. Gold fever grips fiercely, and with every pan of gravel, expectation tilts toward disappointment. Yet even knowing the odds, you find yourself drawn to the search, like a moth to its flame. Days are spent sluicing muddy water through your fingers in hopes of that glimmer, a mere fleck that may mark the difference between prosperity and penury. Standing shoulder to shoulder with fellow dreamers, prospecting turns into a social ecosystem all its own, a fellowship of misfits united in their pursuit. Historians still argue whether this came to signify the grand equalizer that historians paint, or whether it was a stratification so subtle it masqueraded as opportunity. The reality, though romanticized, remains deeply individualistic. Mining claims leap from ledger to reality amidst fragile trust, marking territories with stake and sweat, often breeding tensions or fragile alliances turned treachery at the harshness of life or the metastasizing lure of treasure. An intensely solitary pursuit, tinged with camaraderie, tethered by fleeting hope in the golden choruses echoing through ravines and rills. Amidst this shifting landscape, the physical toll is significant. Hands calloused from shoveling, backs aching from relentless bending, the weight of shovel-heavy yet light with the burden of just one more pan. The haul often translates not into wealth, but rather the lost hours of labour, leaving you richer not in gold but in grit. Sun up to sundown, the relentless pursuit etches itself into the lines on your face, a testament to the timeless transaction between labour and reward. For those with rare persistence, though, the hard work may pay off. Some do strike it rich, immortalised in legend and the annals of history, their tales surprising and enticing the ears of the disenchanted. Questions regarding their undeniable allure persist and reverberate, urging others toward an ever-elusive prosperity. You can practically hear their triumphant cries echo in the canyons, mingling with those who still search, as if the distant sound might summon fortune itself. But for the majority, this grail quest often leaves them with barely enough to scrape by, the promised land more a chimera than capital. The mythic treasures you seek elude you, fading along with the sun as another day draws to its weary close. The song of the night telling tales of dreams deferred. Gold lies not at the heart of these rocks, but within the layered lives of those cradled within this unforgiving landscape. Each nugget you don't find births reflection, moments crystallizing in the cold quiet, inviting you to wonder if the gold was ever in the ground at all, or if it lies in the stories that bind us westward, a compelling, ever-spinning thread of American mythos. As stars prick the velvet sky, you ponder these questions, turning them over in your mind like the silt in your pan. All around you, miners rest fitfully, their dreams swimming with the elusive shimmer of gold dust. Moonlit reveries that sustain them when reality provides little nourishment. You fall asleep beneath the same cosmic awning, realizing that perhaps the real gift lies in the hope itself, in the shared pursuit that transcends time and place. As the night softly envelops the camp, dreams and desires fade slowly into the gentle hush, leaving only the echo of your heart's longing beneath the weight of unending stars. The prairie yields to a more volatile landscape as you venture further, the wilderness transforming before your eyes into a place where the elements themselves seem determined to declare war upon you. This is a land of extremes, where the weather swings wildly from bone-dry heat to bone-chilling cold, and every shift in the wind brings both challenge and awe. You come to understand that living here means constantly negotiating with the sky, bargaining for every crisp breath and every sheltered moment. As morning breaks, the sun asserts its fierce dominion over everything, blazing down with an intensity that banishes shadows and draws shimmering mirages. The air is still and heavy, making each step feel like a laborious pull through thick, invisible resistance. Within minutes, sweat beads upon your brow, trickling in salty rivulets down your spine. You find yourself pausing frequently, seeking the slim solace afforded by the slender refuges of shade, cast by scrubby trees and low hills. The heat is relentless, a forging fire that ignites every surface until it smoulders and crackles beneath its oppressive gaze. The very earth feels ready to combust, as parched as it is, sodden only with empty promises. It's weather that forces you to recalibrate, to conserve your energy and sip sparingly from your dwindling water supply. Survival here demands vigilance and adaptation, reminding you that while humans can adapt, the limits of endurance are stretched thin by the sun's unyielding brilliance. Historians still argue whether the harsh climate played a direct role in shaping the character of those steadfast few who remained to tame this land. People here develop a toughness born from necessity, a trait that finds expression in both body and spirit. It's a world that requires a level of hardiness and ingenuity uncommon in more temperate places. And yet, as the sun descends and the heat slowly ebbs away, another face of nature emerges, equally as unyielding. At first, the cooling air is a balm, promising relief. But it soon morphs into a surprisingly frigid opposite, descending in near-freezing temperatures as night falls. The chill bites with the sudden precision of a well-honged knife, slicing through the layers of clothing like it longs to prick bone. breath turns to cloud in the lungs, each inhalation razor-thin in the cold night air. The weather in the Wild West isn't just an incidental backdrop. It's an active participant in the intricate dance of life. It moves, mercurial and unpredictable, soothsayer of forgotten futures, interwoven to life's own uncertain chances. You learn to listen to its voice as you seek warmth in the folds of your blankets, huddled close to the fading heat of your campfire. Before long, sinister clouds build on the horizon, bunching together with a graceful menace, rolling deep and resonant like the beating drums of some ancient rite. A storm brews, its potency thrumming through the earth and air as an oath. The sky darkens, solemn grey expands into an expanse edged with the feral flicker of lightning, casting a stark sculptural relief upon the landscape beneath. When the storm descends, it does so with feral splendour, an orchestra of thunder and sweeping percussion sounding its presence over the clamour of rustling leaves and rain-soaked earth. Each rain-laden gust carries secrets, whispers that ride the swirling wind with unbridled madness. The tempest's fury bursts forth with a promise of water, a sacred moving tapestry drenched with the echoes of an untamed land. Silently, amid the clashes and echoes, you are reminded of the beauty intrinsic even in the storm's roar. Each flash of light, each crack of thunder is both a modern masterpiece and a hearkening to ancient sequels, timeless, universal truths played out before humanity's earliest rhythms. You stand, humbled beneath its majesty, conscious of your fragile place within nature's sprawling saga. As the storm culminates, the sky begins to settle into a gentle rainfall, a lullaby that caresses the land with tender resonance as nature's grace intervenes once more, while the cycle of weather begins anew. Here, in the heart of this tempestuous land, you embrace the theatre of weather that endlessly shapes every inch of rock, every fold of earth, a reminder that the land is a greater entity in this wilderness than any one being. So, you hold firm, cradled by the shelter you craft anew, as always, hoping that dawn will reveal another day, one tempered by the Wild West's savage beauty and its welcoming promise. As boundless as the sun's stay-home sky, the journey stretches ever onward, demanding constant movement and adaptation through the relentless landscape. Out here, transportation isn't merely a matter of getting from point A to point B, it's a constant negotiation with the terrain itself. An intimate dance with each bump and jolt beneath your weary limbs. Your choice of transportation shapes your experience in profound ways. Consider the trusty horse, a steadfast companion that carries you across the vast expanses, its strength and stamina a testament to evolution's triumph over this demanding territory. Yet even this noble creature is not without its expenses and challenges. Each day requires careful tending, watering, feeding and brushing down to maintain the health of your equine partner. A sick or injured horse might mean the end of a journey, or the dreaded interruption of endless, unbroken walking. With each hoofbeat, there's an unspoken dialogue between you and your mount, a mutual reliance that breeds a keen sense of respect and, perhaps, affection. You learn to read the subtle cues, the flick of an ear, the shift in gait that hints at weariness or apprehension. In return, you offer reassurance, a gentle pat on the neck, a murmured word. This partnership is your lifeline, forged in the crucible of these untamed lands. But not all are so fortunate as to have a horse. Imagine the weary trudge of those travelling on foot, boots worn and heels blistered, each step an exercise in endurance. Here, the journey is marked by the slow resilience of the human spirit, a testament to resolve in the face of adversity. Paths are marked not just by footprints, but by marks of determination etched into the very soil. Historians still argue whether the shift from horseback to the advent of the infrastructure-laden railroads was an evolution of necessity or destiny. Each traveller, be it by foot, horse or wagon, leaves behind a mark that intricately links them to the history of the land, one guided by instinct and tenacity. For those preferring more substantial conveyance, wagons offer another means of travel. Their wooden frames creak rhythmically, a reassuring soundtrack amid the solitude of the open plains. They heave and groan beneath carefully packed loads, a mountain of essentials and keepsakes alike, all lashed securely under heavy tarps for protection against weather and wear. Guiding such a wagon requires skill and experience. The driver must handle not only reins and commands, but the subtle art of negotiating uneven ground, constantly calculating the balance of speed and safety across uncertain terrain. It's a jostling, teeth-rattling ride that leaves few moments for rest, but provides a vital provider against the demands of the wilderness. The wagon train is its own living organism, bound together by codependence and camaraderie, an alliance of necessity. Families and strangers meld into a mobile community of shared hopes and challenges. Stories are exchanged with the rhythm of wheels, laughter frequently punctuating the air, even as eyes remain vigilant for avarice or obstacles that transcend human control. Despite the promise of connection, crossing rivers proves a daunting task, where wagons might float momentarily before grounding on the jagged stones beneath the water, leaving travellers damp and burdened. Over time, the resourcefulness honed through daily struggles becomes a touchstone in the ever-ongoing march forward, an inspiration to the travellers stretched across the weather-worn plains. The land itself exacts its toll, accompanied always by respect. Muddy tracks slow progress to a sluggish crawl, while dust clouds rise, searing throats and choking breath from weary bodies. Yet, amid challenges, life prevails in a symphony of creaks and complaints, the cogs of survival pulling their denizens toward their elusive destination. It's easy to imagine a frontier timekeeper smiling wryly at the hubris of man-made machines in this realm, where nature's dominance reigns supreme. The intimacy shared between traveller and travel mode is quietly eternal, a bond that remains impervious even as technology reshapes the terrain. With every forward step, be it on a well-determined horse, a labouring wagon, or footfalls on rugged trail, each traveller finds their path drawn into the narrative that defines this magnificent, unrelenting West. Here, movement isn't just a necessity but an act of defiance and faith, a declaration that, however uncertain the path, still we travel forward, leaving tethers to history threaded into the footprints and wheel tracks of this ever-moving land. As you continue your journey across this ever-shifting landscape, the majestic plains open wide to a horizon where the sky and earth seem indistinguishable. But as picturesque as this scene may be, it conceals a lurking menace that can arise with little warning. The belly of the dust, the tempestuous dance of sandstorms and tornadoes that the West knows well. Here, the land itself seems to conjure chaos, transforming a calm day into a fierce struggle for survival. You notice the shift in the atmosphere first, a peculiar stillness that hangs heavy in the air, a silence that's almost palpable. There's an electric quality, as if the landscape instinctively prepares for the assault of wind and grit. At first it seems a mild inconvenience, a light breeze tugging playfully at your hat and garments, but experience tells you this is merely the storm's preface. Sandstorms emerge without ceremony, born from the convergence of dry earth and restless wind. As the wind whips up the sands, the world becomes a swirling haze of stinging particles. The daylight dims into sepia twilight, and the horizon vanishes in the storm's clutches. You are engulfed in a maelstrom that gnaws at exposed skin, sapping moisture from your very breath. Grit grinds between your teeth as you shield your eyes with a scarf or bandana, transforming fabric to armor as primal as the grit itself. Struggling through the sandstorm is like wandering into a forgotten world, an assault on the senses that can disorient even the most tenacious traveler. The stinging particles abrade your skin, covering everything in a delicate film of fine dust. Survival depends on instinct and preparation, hunkering down to let nature's fury exhaust itself, reminding you of the Wild West's relentless personality. Yet the land is not done testing your resilience. As the storm subsides and quiet returns, another threat often brews on the horizon. Tornadoes. Nature's most formidable offspring. These weather beasts descend with an awe-inspiring fury, their funnel clouds a dance of destruction that seems almost sentient in its chaos. You've heard the stories, howling tempests that tear paths of ruin, pulling trees from their roots, and flattening all in their wake. Historians still argue whether these drastic weather patterns pushed settlements to more forgiving lands, or if they galvanized the pioneers' resolve to tame the frontier. But as you stand here, acutely aware of the storm's power, the debates seem far removed, replaced by the raw encounter between human frailty and nature's might. When tornado sirens wail, A bitter reminder of nature's dominion echoes through your bones. Finding shelter becomes paramount, whether in a shallow ravine, beneath a rock overhang, or within the sturdy hewn walls of a storm cellar. The moments before impact are a frantic mix of desperation and hope, pinning your fate on the gamble of survival beneath this celestial roulette. Even in this dance of elements, the landscape remains compellingly beautiful. The funnel twisting above, a looming silhouette etched against dark thunderheads. There's a haunting grace in the vortex's power, a reminder of the tumultuous ballet the sky performs. Endurance isn't about overcoming the storm. It's about surviving to see the burst of sunlight on the trailing edge, transforming the once ominous clouds into merely another chapter in this vast volume of experience. As the chaos recedes, what remains is debris, and a sky scrubbed clean by nature's fleeting fury. You emerge, a little worse for wear, but profoundly aware of your smallness in the face of such grandeur. The land takes its due, leaving you with a stark clarity, an unspoken reverence for the cyclical dance between sky and earth. It's a reminder that out here, survival is neither a right nor an entitlement. It's a tenacious endeavour underscored by respect for a wilderness given to both breathtaking beauty and devastating imbalance. When the skies once more settle into their gentle expanse, you take solace in the quiet realization that for all its challenges, the Wild West remains a teacher without judgment, imparting wisdom intertwined with memory and wind. As you stand amidst the aftermath, gratitude for the tempest's passing tempers desire, just another whisper of hope against the ever-roaring trials of this indomitable land. With each new day that dawns on the untamed West, you find yourself acutely aware of yet another stealthy adversary, one not as visible as the storms, but equally potent in its threat: disease. Here, in a place where the spaces between people are vast, and the comfort of modern medicine is a mere mirage, illness steals upon the unwary like a shadow at dusk, unseen but ever present. It's often the smallest of foes that wield the greatest power, transforming this wilderness into a quiet battleground. The trail you walk is littered with stories, spoken in hushed tones around smoky campfires, of those struck down by fever or ague, their bodies unable to discern friend from foe. In a land where health is contingent upon isolation and rough living, disease proves a formidable opponent. The common cold, viewed merely as an inconvenience today, here takes on a sinister guise, all too easily evolving into pneumonia or worse. As you forge onward, each symptom becomes a litmus test for paranoia. The slight tickle in your throat, a subtle ache, the flush of heat across the skin. Each could be the harbinger of larger troubles. And then there's cholera, the spectre of which looms large on your journey, a name held almost in superstitious reverence. Among travellers, few words are as feared. It attacks unseen, carried in the life's blood of the very substance you sometimes covet more than gold: water. Yet the wilderness isn't completely bereft of antidotes. From wise indigenous traditions come herbal remedies passed down through generations, offering respite and healing. Knowledge of local plants and herbs forms another cog in the machinery of survival, a whisper of the earth's bounty, if you will but listen to nature's own prescriptions. The world of dandelion tinctures and sage tea boasts various remedies, some as ancient as the soil itself, that hint at respite from suffering. Still, no remedy holds the magic key to immunity. Historians still argue over whether these early medicines paved the way for advancements or delayed the due course of scientific understanding. Yet to those who endeavour to live within this rugged empire, the present value of prevention and remedy weighs more than distant academic scrutiny. The ever-present fear of disease cultivates a hardened vigilance where cleanliness and caution reign supreme. You learn to boil water, sterilize knives, and keep your scant supplies pristine, each precaution a quiet homage to the unseen war waged within the body itself. Every careful choice, a handshake withheld, a shared flask avoided, carries the weight of consequence. Nature watches closely, her lessons unforgiving. There's a community formed here by shared tribulations, people tending to one another with an earnestness sometimes forged only in hardship. Neighbours help neighbours, not just out of ethic but necessity, sharing what they know, every piece of advice a potential lifeline in the ever-present fight against unseen enemies. Sleep coaxes hesitation from the weary bones of the sick, a luxury tempered by vigilance, where even dreams carry the weight of responsibility. Eyes closed, yet alert to what dawn may bring. You find solace in the small, everyday rituals, the purification of water, the gentle tending to small wounds, a smile more potent than any tonic when spirits threaten to bog down. As you lay beneath a sky veiled in starlight, you reflect on the resilience that life demands here, constantly testing limits. The raw courage required to face each day unflinchingly, where survival depends as much on steel as it does on softness. Where strength is found not just in muscles, but in the heart and mind. This paradigm of existence, isolated and intimate, reveals its fundamental truths. That community, however dispersed, builds bonds as robust as muscle, and that human spirit persists unswayed by even the most virulent of foes. Beneath the vast quiet sky your resolve wavers not, and you hold firm, a mindful echo of life in the Wild West, subverted only by your own testament against trials. Tomorrow a new day awaits, sunlit and brimming with the echo of silence regained, a reverie remembered only by the mindful, those who listen to learn, those who journey unflinchingly forward, because the spirit of this wilderness is indomitable, wrapped as it is in hope, perseverance, and the will to thrive. As dawn slips gently into existence, casting tendrils of gold across the vast terrain, you find yourself amidst the raw endeavour of homesteading. Here, in this expansive land of possibility, the dream is as simple as it is profound. To carve a life, a sanctuary, from the wilderness. It's whispered in the rustling grass, in the steady rhythm of the hammer, and in the resolute set of your shoulders. Homesteading in the West is no easy feat. It's a promise made between spirit and soil. Your canvas is a plot of land, often awarded through persuasion and persistence, and its boundaries are usually marked by little more than landmarks and hope. The ground is rich with potential under the sun's ambivalent gaze, but coaxing a livelihood from it is a challenge of monumental proportions. Armed with simple tools and an unyielding resolve, you begin the back-breaking work of transforming this patch of earth into a place you can call home. Building a shelter stands as your first priority, an act that combines both practicality and protection. The arrival of materials is as diverse as the region itself. Logs felled from distant woodlands, sod cut and stacked from the prairie, each piece an integral part of the life you're building. From this rudimentary pallet you erect structures that rise to become both walls and refuge, sanctuaries against the elements and the unknown threats lurking beyond. Historians still argue whether these early homesteads were built more for defence or for domestic warmth, their forms often shaped by necessity more than design. But within their timbers and clay you carve out spaces that balance utility with grace, set carefully amidst the wilderness. Between chores, your life unfolds in a series of tasks, each more demanding than the last. You break the soil's stubborn demeanour, coaxing crops to emerge, a delicate transaction with nature requiring tenderness and tenacity. Ploughs carve furrows into a field that slowly grows from an embryonic idea to burgeoning reality, row by row. You plant with hope that the harvest will provide what you need to survive the coming winter months, a cycle as old as humanity itself. Yet homesteading isn't merely about establishing subsistence, it's about crafting a community within your walls. The ecological theatre around you is both a neighbour and a complicit actor in the broader saga of your existence. Wildlife scampers through your periphery, foraging among roots and branches, carrying on its own story of survival. Watchfully you learn from it, heedful of the delicate balance between nature's bounty and the need for harmony. Fences rise under your hand, practical demarcations separating the wild from the tamed. Yet even these lines remain tethered loosely, whispering agreements with winds that sometimes seem swayed by will. The challenges are endless, but within those victories, both great and small, you find purpose and peace. As the sun dips low, your homestead bathes in the amber glow of the west, its outline softened by the dusk. Evenings become a respite against the toil of the day, where fires blaze warmly from crafted hearths. You sit in the quiet company of family or companions, bound together by shared labour and dreams, sharing stories with voices softened by fatigue and gratitude. Crickets provide the evening's chorus while whipped winds murmur their serenades. In this tranquil darkness, you muse over the fact that homesteading is as much about the inner journey as it is about the land. In staking a claim, you cast ripples into time, touching future generations not only with roots sunk deep into the soil, but with the perseverance that brings them there. With each dawn, you rise to meet new challenges, the cultivation of both land and spirit, secure in the unspoken assurances forged from the very earth beneath your feet. Here, the Wild West speaks to those in pursuit of more than solitude, an allure of kinship with the world itself, linking hand to hoe, dream to horizon. Homesteading embraces a cadence each homesteader writes, choreographed with nature's assistance, tuned to the tempo of life as old as the soil, yet vibrant as the dawn. A testament far beyond words, growing steadily and surely toward tomorrow's promise, where the quiet strength of the land unearths a home. As the sun spills over the horizon, casting its golden glow across the wide expanse, your thoughts turn to another essential facet of survival in the Wild West. Weapons. Out here, tools of defense and sustenance are not mere luxuries but necessities, integral to navigating the unpredictability of life on the frontier. In this untamed world, where danger lurks around nearly every corner, the management and mastery of weaponry becomes as important as the very air you breathe. Your sidearm or rifle is a constant companion, its weight a reassuring presence against your hip or shoulder. These are not mere symbols of power and authority, they are the means by which you protect what's yours and procure what you need. With each grip and pull, each polished barrel, the connection to these tools becomes one of both respect and responsibility. The revolver, with its precision and heft, offers you a sense of security amid the oft chaotic unpredictability around every bend. Each chamber holds not just ammunition, but the promise of defense against threats, whether they manifest in the form of predatory wildlife or the less scrupulous side of humanity. Your marksmanship improves through practice, the art of patience and calm poised against the distant horizon, echoing the age-old truism that idle hands make poor advocates in this wilderness. The rifle, a mainstay of the frontier life, serves a dual purpose: defense and provision. Drawing your sights upon the horizon, it isn't simply predators you may face, but the promise of food for the days ahead. Game is elusive and skittish, a testament to the land crafting its own guardians in the form of quick-footed deer or wary hares whenever an opportunity presents itself. Precision matters as much as timing, the rifle bark cutting the quiet air, announcing the delicate dance of life and sustenance. The history of the Wild West is irrevocably intertwined with these weapons. Historians still argue whether it was the craftsman's metal or the settler's resolve that forged the frontier narrative. Armourers and blacksmiths apply their skills to create tools finely tuned and widely revered. They craft metal as artists weave with silk, every piece of gunmetal chased with purpose and intent. Despite meticulous care, these tools demand constant vigilance. Oils and cloths become familiar companions in keeping weapons at the ready. As well-trained as their owner, the respect you show your weapons is reciprocal. Treat them carelessly, and they may exact a heavy toll, whether by rust, misfire, or failure in a crucial moment. But beyond defense and sustenance, your relationship with your weaponry holds a deeper, more nuanced story in this stunningly imperfect land. Guns hold sway not merely as instruments of power, but as equalizers, leveling playing fields where law and peace ebb and flow as seasons do. It's a world where survival may at times hinge on seconds and split decisions. A life bordered by intention, rendered raw not by hostility but necessity. The tools of the trade are to be holstered, held, concealed and revealed, ready to rise to the morning chorus of birdsong or the alarmed bleat of nearby prey. The steadfast composure with which each decision between drawing or holding fire is rendered finds its mark deeply, and impressions upon the spirit are long-lasting. The day burns brightly, iridescent promise written into each breeze that tousles tufts of grass at sparrow level. As you survey your surroundings, vigilance becomes second nature, sharpened by experience rather than paranoia, honed in harmony with trust, the bedrock of both human and humankind. In the woods and hills, thus armed, you become both protector and provider, asserting your minor dominion through a steadfast readiness and resourceful assurance. As moonlight bathes the landscape in pallid silver, your duties enjoyed nonetheless inform the passage of twilight into deeper shades of night, a testament to the grind and grace of frontier resolve. And in that moment, there upon the plains or forest edge, reflection invites the echoes of those who came before in all fervency, their legacies scored indelibly into tendrils of smoke and the harmony of the land's melody. You forge onward, reverencing not just your tools but the wisdom in their lineage, knight and steward of centuries-old stories, poets of powder under stars forming, always one step ahead of every horizon's secret tale. As the landscape shifts beneath your feet, giving way to rolling hills and the distant silhouettes of jagged peaks, you come to realize that in this wide-open domain, forging bonds with others is just as vital as any survival skill. The Wild West thrives on community, on the camaraderie born from shared trials and triumphs. Navigating this world means learning the delicate balance of trusting strangers, forming alliances when necessary, and maintaining a wary eye for those whose intentions may not align with your own. In the frontier towns scattered like seeds across the vast terrain, the saloons, general stores, and boarding houses become focal points for human connection. These are the places where stories are swapped, partnerships are forged, and the echoes of laughter or argument spill out into the dusty streets. As you step through the swinging saloon doors, you're acutely aware of the looks that follow. Assaments, greetings, tentative invitations to partake in the half-told tales of strangers. Yet behind every welcoming smile lies the potential for deception. The same open hospitality you extend could easily be a veneer masking ulterior motives. Trust in these parts is a currency of its own, traded and wagered in the flick of an eye or the quiet grip of a handshake. You learn to read the subtle language of Western interaction, where a nod can serve as both greeting and warning. The alliances you form can be fleeting but crucial. Partners in enterprise or exploration provide more than just company. They bring shared resources, combined knowledge, and an extra pair of eyes against the hazards that might arise. Together, you navigate river crossings, hunt for game, and defend against potential threats, learning to trust in one another's expertise. The camaraderie that develops can transform even the hardest days into shared adventures, often recalled over campfires that wink through heat and darkness. Historians still argue regarding the legends and truths of the infamous Wild West bromances. Were they the poetic flourishes of a romanticized past, or the genuine leanings of desperate souls? From Butch and Sundance to unnamed wanderers paired in dusty photographs, the twine of their kinship tightly wound. Whatever the debate may bear, the bonds of friendship here have also stood the test of time, forged in raw necessity and a mutual understanding of the land's unyielding nature. But as with any alliance, discernment is vital. Those you allow within your closest circle can hold the paths to safety or to ruin. The itinerant life of the West often draws individuals with varied pasts, their histories as tangled and complex as the brushwood lining the trails. Not every smile beckons peace, nor does every weary traveller offer kinship. Beneath their worn hats and dust-stained clothes might dwell promises unkept, tales untold, intentions unseen. Your heart learns to weigh discretion against instinct, a calculated risk that never goes unjustified. You find caution laid bare in shared meals over lean beef and beans, or in the warmth promised by shared cloaks against the night's approach. Trust functions as a vehicle for both protection and vulnerability, inviting the unexpected and the inevitable alike. Even the wolf packs that roam the prairies teach lessons, modelled after an intricate social hierarchy bound by respect, territory, and a communal need. They live in a primitive balance that echoes the eternal quest in humans to belong, to abide, to trust wisely. Their howls pierce the night in harmony, a sonic reminder of interdependence and the primal need for communion. Friend or foe, each encounter leaves its mark. And while you walk amidst the ever-changing tapestry of human nature on this storied stage, growing season by season within the folds of this vast territory, the wild, unwritten script remains, found among sand, scrub, and sky. But respite finds itself not solely in relationship's grip. It resides most quietly within. As a new dawn breaks, you grasp the value of every shared moment and every cautious step. Perhaps it's the realization that, whether together or solitary, the Wild West weaves all travelers into a single grand novel, every voice contributing to the fulfilling hum of this enduring and uncompromising frontier. And so, you press on, part wanderer, part witness, each step forging an ally in the unknown journey ahead, a new chapter written in trust or in its absence. The sun rises higher in the sky, painting the landscape in hues of gold and amber, casting its light on the rocky outcrops and grasslands that stretch as far as the eye can see. This enigmatic terrain is not only home to dreamers hunting for prosperity, but also to an industry rife with peril and promise, prospecting. Beyond the romanticized vision of the gold rush, countless men and women were drawn to the mysterious allure of the minerals that lay buried within the earth's crust, their hopes pinned on the promise that the land held wealth beyond practical measure. Both these men and women, and many little. As you join the ranks of these ambitious souls, you feel the stirrings of something profound, a connection to the explorers and adventurers who came before, led by desire and discovery. Here, every hollowed creek, every rocky scree becomes a potential harbor of fortune, the promise of hidden veins just beneath your feet. You find yourself combing through mineral-rich lands with a painstaking attention to detail, each glimmer of mica or quartz prompting dicotations of whispered anticipation. However, prospecting goes beyond the simple act of panning for gold or silver. It's a multifaceted venture, encompassing geology, chemistry, and grit. You learn to survey and map the land, to read its language in the layering of rock and sediment, to divine the signs that hint at the presence of precious deposits. These skills, grounded in experience and taught by those wiser in the ways of the earth, guide your pickaxe into the stone's embrace. Yet the endeavour isn't without its hardships or hazards. The craggy wilderness hides more than shining treasures. It harbours dangers aplenty. Steep cliffs and rocky ledges constantly demand your caution, as even a small misstep can result in disaster. Punishing heat and cold force you to be ever guarded, while the threat of sudden geyser flows or unexploded charges from previous mining attempts is a reminder that nature maintains the upper hand. Historians still argue whether the initial gold rush ignited a beacon of innovation or spread reckless ambition across the growing nation. While romanticized depictions linger in memory, the reality lies amidst the scars of a land both cherished and challenged by human hands. The land is scarred with the traces of past endeavors. Abandoned prospection sites, empty claim markers, and forgotten mining towns linger silently across the wilderness. They tell stories of generations past, of fortunate strikes and calamitous collapses, of lone prospectors who bet their lives on the land, and sometimes lost. Through these relics, you sense the haunting echoes of ambition foiled by reality, of dreams deferred by the stark demands of survival itself. Reached by the elements, some old mines remain open and dangerous, a reminder of the fragile balance between human ambition and nature's grandeur. Upon entering one, the world is reduced to shadow and stone, the cool air a welcome reprieve from the sun's relentless gaze. Within these dim spaces, your footsteps resonate against the silence, amplified by the heavy weight of your presence in this forsaken place. For those who succeed, the riches of this mineral bounty offer the keys to wealth and influence. But such triumphs are rare, and the pursuit itself leaves many floundering in despair, having stripped the land of awe and pliable hope without a return to speak of. Thus, these landscapes foster both the exuberance and the frustrations of those who journey through them, absorbing human grit into the textures of sand, stone, and sky. For your part, prospecting becomes not just an occupation but a pursuit of ancient mystery. It is the quest for a quiet place within the layers of history, an immersion into tales told by the very essence of Earth. With each strike of the chisel, you breathe life into forgotten worlds, unearthing treasures both tangible and abstract, feeding a fire that illuminates the past while fueling the future. As you finally pack your tools and turn away once more, the land whispers longingly after you, tempting another seeker into its folds. Your footsteps, intertwined with the legacies of those before, weave with earthy narratives, each note echoing comfort and call to those who would listen. The lure of the prospect may hold monetary promise, but it's the stirring inside, the call of the earth, that leaves its enduring mark upon the veins of the human heart. As your journey continues across the vast and varied landscapes of the Wild West, the prospect of encountering the land's indigenous peoples grows ever more tangible. The encounters between native tribes and settlers are historical narratives steeped in both complexity and nuance, where tension and understanding often walked hand in hand. In this vast frontier, where every interaction carried the weight of history and possibility, the relationships you forge or forgo with Native Americans can significantly alter your path. From behind ridged hilltops and narrow valleys, you occasionally glimpse smoke rising salways, a sign of nearby communities whose ways of life have endured for countless generations. These are the guardians of the land who understand its rhythms like no other, their steps an echo of nature itself. For them, the wilderness isn't an adversary to be conquered, but a beloved companion, weaving its wisdom into the fabric of daily life. As you approach these resilient peoples, your heart navigates a complex web of respect, curiosity, and trepidation. You're greeted by eyes that have seen the tides of settlers come and go, leaving ripples of influence and disruption in their wake. Will you be welcomed as a visitor, an ally, or regarded with cautious suspicion? Historians still argue the motives and manners behind each interaction, whether they were negotiations for mutual benefit or exploitations cloaked in thin optimism. The languages spoken here are threads of sung histories and traditions, each word imbued with the cadence of the land itself. You listen intently, aware that the stories shared under the watchful stars bear insights unimagined and lessons unearned by mere travellers. All guides, both indigenous and not, understand these lessons run not by words alone, but by actions taken and paths tread. Each exchange of customs, trinkets, foods, or stories becomes a transaction steeped in diplomacy, a landmark embracing both worlds' narratives. You share goods awkwardly, offering your own, salted provisions, tinctures, or humble trades from settler stock. In return, you receive gifts of seasoned wisdom, knowledge of medicinal plants, animal movements, and sacred lands to tread on lightly. Sometimes, their hospitality is a welcome reprieve, forging bonds that transcend differences through shared meals, laughter, and dance. Around community fires, understanding takes shape, threading humanity into connections tempered by respect for balance and harmony. Here you encounter a rich tapestry of life, one that echoes the respect for the elders and the reverence for youth. These vibrant ceremonies stand testament to the power of enduring culture and the importance of memory. Yet not all encounters unfold with such grace. Elsewhere, less benevolence might be extended. Apprehensions spread like wildfire among tribes wary of encroachment. You find settlements abandoned, standing as vestiges of stories left untold, not hostile but hardened by the cost of histories made by soil and blood. In this wilderness, your interactions serve as chapters in a living book, authored by generations whose stories are as integral to the land as the mountains and rivers. Each handshake or nod of respect is a tribute to the quiet power surging through the land. A partnership between humankind and earthy solitude intricately bound together. You move forward, guided by intuition and the wisdom imparted by those who wander the fringes and heartlands of this world. They are shadows by rivers, friends under towering pines, a presence impervious to time. The promise of tomorrow still lies on the far horizon, wrapped in the glow of shared experiences, in the enduring legacy of American soil and its patient, enduring caretakers. As stars blanket the sky above you and you forge your own path forward, you carry with you the lessons of encounters past. A bright mosaic of faces, voices, and shared stories, pinned upon the backdrop of memory. In the silence that surrounds, you recall the journey's echo, a reminder that peace is not easily won or kept, but, like the land itself, demands respect and gentle stewardship for those who seek to understand its overwhelming depth. Through every deliberate step you venture on, the night's breeze whispering secret tales of possibility, echoing softly homeward, engraving peace into the very breath you inhale, and each aspiration you exhale across the storied terrain. As you navigate the rugged trails and dust-laden towns of the Wild West, the elusive promise of wealth weaves through your journey, not merely through gold or silver, but via another avenue, the burgeoning world of finance. With each step, You unwittingly dance to the rhythm of a frontier economy that is as unpredictable as the landscape itself. Here, the concept of banking and investment stands in precarious balance, straddling a line between a bold vision of prosperity and the stark reality of ruin. Banks in these parts are peculiar institutions, often as transient as the communities they serve. Many are nothing more than humble wooden structures lining the town's main road, bearing names that echo confidence and stability, yet often concealing a fragile backbone susceptible to the whims of fortune. You notice the wary glances of townsfolk as they approach, assessing with a practiced eye whether today's risk is worth tomorrow's reward. Stepping past the modest facade, you enter a world where paper money, notes of credit, and shiny coins clink together in a precarious harmony. The atmosphere inside is charged with ambition and trepidation. In the cramped office space, bank clerks feverishly scribe transaction ledgers, each entry a testament to the aspirations and gambles of those who seek their fortune in this untamed territory. You might consider investing, seeing prosperity on the horizon through the prism of shared ventures or burgeoning railroads promising connectivity and growth. Investment is a double-edged sword, one that cuts swiftly through dreams and finances alike. For every tale of striking it rich, there exist shadowed lines of loss, of families bankrupted by market volatility, of trust betrayed by investment schemes collapsing like a house of cards. Historians still argue whether frontier banking represented an economic revolution or merely a gamble akin to gold panning without a stream. In truth, for every dream spun from fortune's fabric, there exists the thread of stark reality binding ambition to finance in an intricate web. Fraudulent schemes abound, their allure often irresistible in a world built on the lure of opportunity. Promises of grand returns mask the dangers of speculative booms and busts. The landscape is littered with the remnants of failed enterprises. Ghost towns speak of dreams dashed as quickly as the wind disperses desert sands, reminders of risks taken and the relentless tide of economy. Yet, within this unfolding drama, there lies a thread of resiliency. The human spirit here is indomitable, driven by the desire to carve a niche in a world that offers both challenge and reward. For many, the soul-satisfying struggle to build something lasting outweighs the potential for failure, a testament to the rugged determination woven into the very fabric of the West. By sundown, the daily rhythm of transactions settles into a quiet lull. You watch shadows stretch across the room as clerks balance ledgers, tallying columns that represent more than mere numbers. They embody promises of growth or the gentle fade of ambition. The office empties, leaving a quiet hum echoing within its walls, a reminder of the potent mix of promise and peril that defines the frontier's financial ventures. As you step out into the cool evening air, under a sky stretched wide with stars, you ponder the delicate dance of risk and investment. Each choice made here is a step into the unknown, part of a tapestry as rich and unpredictable as the land itself. Today you perhaps lay claim not just to coin but to the wealth of lessons and experiences, measured beyond the mere material. In time, you find solace in the knowledge that a hardy frontier spirit endures beyond the reach of monetary gain, in the whispered dreams that echo through nighttime breezes and the companions that journey alongside. You walk onward, each step resonating with both the weight of history and the vibrant threads of tomorrow's promise. Woven deeply within this wilderness, where both fortunes and friendships are forged with unyielding resolve. As you wander through the wide expanses of the Wild West, the notion of communication becomes a journey unto itself. Out here, the distances between settlements are vast and unforgiving, and the reliance on swift communication is fraught with challenges that demand ingenuity and persistence. In this sprawling landscape, news travels not at the speed of sound, but at the pace of hoofbeats, railway tracks, and the turning of wagon wheels. Imagine the isolation of the homesteader, miles separating them from the nearest settlement, each day measured not just in the rhythm of chores, but also in the anxious anticipation of news from the outside world. Letters from home carry the hopes and dreams of far-off places, narratives of a connected fabric that binds you to family, friends, and the stories they share. These missives become treasured artifacts, read and reread, tangible links to people who exist beyond the horizon. But these letters do not simply appear. The process of sending and receiving correspondence is an odyssey all its own. Enter the realm of the postal rider, a lone figure against the backdrop of endless sky, tasked with braving the elements and perils of the frontier to deliver these messages of hope, longing, and reassurance. Each trip is a calculated gamble, timing their passage against the moods of the wilderness and the temperaments of the elements. The invention of the Pony Express revolutionizes communication in this rugged world, its riders galloping across the open plains at breathtaking speeds, duty wrapped within the folds of leather mail pouches. This service becomes legendary, romanticized in both its daring spirit and transience. Each relay station a beacon of connectivity, each mount a fleeting servant to the necessity of haste. Yet, even as the Pony Express becomes a symbol of rapid communication, the construction of the transcontinental telegraph shifts the landscape once again. Historians still argue whether technological advances replaced the heart of the frontier's ruggedness or merely shifted its boundaries. But here, for the first time, the beat of electrons pulses through wires spanning the country, bringing information at unprecedented speeds. A mind-boggling transformation that ties disparate worlds together, reshaping them into a closeness previously thought impossible. Despite technological advances, the reliability of communication is never guaranteed. There are still times when messages go astray, swallowed by the land or caught by fate's whim. Delays are as common as swift deliveries, news subject to the vagaries of weather, disaster, and fortune. A stark reminder that nothing is certain in this vast wilderness. In towns and outposts, people gather around newspapers, gleaning snippets of their world through printed columns and unfolding events. The precious sheets, often several weeks old, serve to connect these scattered horizons, validating stories, separating truth from rumour, and igniting the imagination. Here, among ink-stained fingers and the rustle of paper, tales grow more lush, legends more colourful, and aspirations achingly reachable. In this world, communication is personal, a tribute to both invention and tenacity. Messages are not merely exchanged, but crafted, born from thought and intention, sealed in the quiet promise of arrival. Through letters read by candlelight and the crackle of the telegraph wire, the flow of words becomes a lifeline that spans not just geography but time. As night falls onto the landscape, leaving the sky a vast canvas for stars, you spread your own writings beneath the dome of heaven. The pen becomes a means to reach out, to renew, to reveal, to reminisce in echo to your own time and place. In the enduring solitude of the frontier, words serve to bridge past and future, gathering common threads into the shared fabric of the frontier's tapestry. With each spoken word, penned line, and transmitted code, an intimate act defies the wild expanse, uniting human hearts and aspirations. And so, you continue your journey, guided by letters and signals as complementary routes to home. Your path illuminates the enduring power of communication, a shared human endeavour transcending the barriers of distance and time, revealing that no matter how vast the world seems, understanding and connection can bridge the loneliest of places. As you wander through the endless expanses of the Wild West, the creatures that share this land become your silent companions, teaching you lessons in survival, resilience, and the delicate art of coexistence. Here, the relationship with the animal kingdom is one of mutual respect, where each creature serves a purpose, contributing to the untamed balance of life. Imagine watching a herd of bison thundering across the plains, their powerful bodies moving in unison like a living tide of fur and muscle. Their presence is a testament to the enduring rhythms of nature, a reminder of the land's bounty and the raw power that sustains it. To the indigenous peoples of this land, the bison is more than mere prey. It is an integral part of life, providing food, clothing, and tools. Every piece a gift that supports the continuity of life. Your interactions with the animal world are tinged with both practicality and reverence. Out here, horses serve not just as transportation, but as trusted allies in the face of endless trails and uncertain paths. The bond between rider and steed is one of profound understanding, forged through miles of shared journeying and tempered by the relentless elements. Each day, this partnership is renewed through unspoken communication. Glances exchanged, the gentle pressure of a heel, the reassuring pat of a hand. In this wild tapestry, coyotes skulk at the edge of camps, their sharp eyes glinting with curiosity and a touch of opportunism. They are the tricksters of the plains, ever watchful for discarded scraps or the chance to snag an unwary rabbit. Though regarded warily, they are respected for their adaptability and cunning, qualities that mirror the tenacity required of all who inhabit this land. Historians still argue about the role horses, bison and wolves played in shaping the cultural landscapes of the Old West. Were they symbols of frontier freedom or embodiments of challenges needing to be conquered? Regardless of the scholarly debates, the reality is that these creatures are woven indelibly into the very fabric of the frontier experience. Their stories inseparable from those of human settlers. Further along your route, wolves roam the periphery, their haunting howls echoing through the night, an ancient chorus that tugs at some primal part of the soul. Once feared and hunted, they now stand as symbols of the wilderness, their presence a reminder of the untamed spirit that courses through these lands. When you encounter them, it is with a sense of awe and recognition, acknowledging their place in the vast cycle of life. But the animal kingdom offers more than just challenges and resources. It provides companionship, a deeper connection to the land as you navigate its complexities. Dogs accompany many settlers, their keen senses and loyal companionship offering a buffer against the solitude and a gentle reminder of home. In their bright eyes and eager expressions, you find comfort, a reflection of the unspoken bond forged by shared experience. The sky itself is not exempt from this web of life. Birds wheel and dive in a ceaseless ballet that enlivens the air, their songs punctuating the quietude of the plains. Hawks soar aloft, patrolling the skies with watchful grace, while smaller birds flit between branches, seeking sustenance and song. In their flight, you see a metaphor for the restless journey of the human spirit, ever questing, ever aspiring. Even the smaller denizens of this land, squirrels, snakes, insects, play their part in this ecological symphony, each note adding to the harmony that sustains the world. Their presence is a reminder of the intricate balance that exists here, a testament to nature's complexity and resilience. As you pause by a trickling stream, the sun playing upon the water's surface, you reflect on the interconnectedness of all life here. These animal allies and adversaries teach humility, reminding you that you are not the centerpiece of this story, but merely another participant in its unfolding tale. Your breaths match the pulse of the earth, a heart that beats in time with all creatures fortunate enough to call this vibrant wilderness home. You continue forward, ever mindful of the gift of shared space, carrying with you the lessons learned from your four-legged, winged and scaled companions. Your journey is richer for their presence, a testament to the beauty and strength found in diversity, and an acknowledgement of the unbroken bond that ties you to the land and its inhabitants. A promise renewed with each step you take beneath the boundless western sky. The Wild West, with its majestic expanse and untamed beauty, has guided you through a journey of resilience, wonder, and deep reflection. As the sun sets, painting the sky with a palette of amber and indigo, you find yourself standing on the cusp of a new horizon, ready to bid farewell to this rugged land that has become a silent companion to your wandering soul. The adventures you've embarked upon are woven into the very fabric of your being, leaving footprints upon your spirit as indelible as those you've left in the dust. Each step along this path has been initiated by the whispers of history itself, where every rise and fall of the terrain speaks of stories told in breathless moments and shared under starry skies. What began as a challenging journey evolved into an exploration of self and kinship with the wild, unveiling truths as raw and genuine as the landscape that birthed them. As twilight deepens, the air cools, enveloping you like a comforting shroud. You reflect upon the myriad tales of survival and defiance that unfolded along the trails, the struggles with outlaws and nature, the daring gambles of prospecting, the embrace of community, and the solitude that offered both trials and introspection. You have lived among legends, recognizing in each one the echo of the human spirit striving to etch its mark upon this vast, untamed canvas. Historians still argue about the Wild West, whether it was a beacon of opportunity or merely a myth that glossed over untold hardships. Yet as you stand here, it becomes evident that the true legacy of this land lies in its ability to ignite the imagination and inspire courage in the hearts of those who journey through it. This is a place where dreams are sculpted from grit and hope, forged into reality by those daring enough to explore its challenges and possibilities. The landscapes, once daunting and unfamiliar, have become cherished friends, each vista a chapter in a book of endless pages. You have learned to listen to the harmonious symphony of wind and earth, to understand the language spoken by stones and streams. Your senses are finely attuned to the beauty of this world, where each sunrise heralds new stories and each sunset tucks them gently into memory's embrace. A gentle breeze brushes against your cheek, a final caress from the land, reminding you that its lessons will linger long after your journey concludes. You sense the presence of those who have journeyed before you, guiding your footsteps, and those who will follow, drawn by the same siren song of adventure that called to you. The night deepens, and the first stars appear like sequins scattered across the velvety sky, their light a promise of continuity and connection. As you make your way to your camp, thoughts drift like motes of dust caught in the moonbeams. You settle down with a weary but contented heart, the crackle of a small fire casting dancing shadows upon your face. In the soft glow, you understand that the Wild West isn't merely a geographical location, but a state of mind, a timeless testament to the resilience and fortitude inherent in all who dare to dream. Your journey here has been about more than survival. It has been an exploration of the spirit, a journey within as much as across. As sleep gently envelops you, your heart swells with gratitude for this timeless dance between modernity and myth. Your dreams entwine with the enduring legacy of this storied land, the whispers of yesterday guiding the way into tomorrow, a future where the Wild West continues to inspire, its stories evolving with each new soul willing to listen. In the quiet moments before slumber, you recognize the peace that settles over you, one that mirrors the landscape you've become a part of, if only fleetingly. You close your eyes, assured by the land's whispered promise that every adventure, every discovery, every lingering step forward has etched its own significance. Here, in this vast expanse that stretches far and wide, where the breath of eternity speaks in desert winds and mountain echoes, you rest under the serene canopy of the stars. Let sleep envelop you, carrying you gently into the night where dreams awaken to the soft embrace of the wild frontier. It's a place where possibilities are endless, a world where your spirit finds its rhythm. As you drift into slumber, may you carry forward the essence of this journey, woven into the very fabric of your being, as enduring as the Wild West itself. Greater than, sweet dreams.